vanilla. Now here's the thing. On my recipe I said you can use either or, but I've gotten to the place where I like adding both, a powdered vanilla and a liquid vanilla. And you may seem like, wow, that's really a lot, but when you taste it, I think you'll agree that it actually brings out the flavor. Vanilla and chocolate just always work really well together. So I like this vanilla powder. I actually order it online. The brand is Aki, A-K-I, and it's an organic vanilla powder. And this just takes about a teaspoon for this recipe. And I've already added the little 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt that goes in this. Just a tiny little bit of salt kind of brings out the flavor of everything else. So I'm going to process this a little bit so that it starts to get a little crumbly. Also, it's going to be noisy, sorry. So when you see it, they're starting to break up a little bit, then open up. This is raw cacao powder. You can use cocoa. But I like the raw because it has more nutrients, it's got more minerals, and hasn't been processed. And then I'm going to add the liquid vanilla. This, by the way, is the cocoa, the raw cacao I'm using. And chocolate chips. No, it's optional. You don't have to use them. But why not?
Milk chocolate?
No, they're bittersweet, organic, dark chocolate. The food co-op downtown has them, so I just buy them in bulk from them. And if you had little mini ones, that would work too. The really good thing about having all the dark chocolate is it doesn't get processed with the dairy, and it gives you the vitamins and minerals that are naturally there. You may be able to see from back there, but maybe not, that it's starting to look a little more crumbly, but it's also starting to come together just a little bit. So you want to keep processing until it starts to really kind of make a ball. Now I know the people up front can see this, maybe you folks in the back can't, but you can see that it's already starting to clump together. So that's all you really need to do. You just wait until it gets to this place, and then you can start making your own brownies. And I've got some of those up here for you to sample as well. You just want it to be soft enough and processed enough so it can just hold its shape and make a nice little ball. And that's it. All right. Questions? Come on. I know you have. Yes, there should be recipes for both of these. Yeah. Okay. I want you all to be sure and try these things, if you like, because I have plenty for everybody to try. I would also like to tell you that I also work with the. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
So one of the things that's challenging is maintaining weight.
Okay.
And so somebody who's lost a lot of weight and you can't quite figure out how to get it back on.
Okay. So here's what I'd recommend: eat lots more food. Seriously. Have smoothies even twice a day if you need to. Have some extra filling things, potatoes and sweet potatoes, and even whole grains or a really good whole grain bread. But eat often and eat more. That's one of the things that a lot of people think they're supposed to eat like they used to eat when they had the denseness of the meat products or the dairy products, because those make you feel full longer. So when you switch to a plant-based diet, you need to make sure that you eat enough food. And if you want to see some people who really do it, you could look up Patrick Barboumian, who's one of the strongest men in the world. And he actually did that Guinness Book of World Records as a plant-based athlete. Carried like 1,200 pounds or something unbelievable. So yeah, and there are a lot of plant-based athletes who do that. I have a friend who's a weightlifter, and she is 100% plant-based and vegan. So she doesn't eat any animal products or any whey or any of that sort of thing. So yeah, you can do it, but definitely eat more. Eat more often, and eat things that are more filling. If there's a particular thing that you like, eat more of that. Sure. Yes.
Okay, so I'm looking at some of these recipes and there are things in here like
And let me come over there so you can.
using canola oil and some of the things that in other books they don't recommend canola oil anymore. And also
Right.
there are things in here, some of it that I wonder like saturated fats and some of the substitute meat things like the burgers. A lot of sodium.
Right. I gotcha. Yeah. So the question is regarding some of the recipes in some of these books that actually have oils in them. Some of these magazines are older, and they aren't necessarily the most recent plant-based science. I definitely don't recommend canola oil. I mean, I would recommend staying away from all processed oils as much as possible, especially if you have any health issues, as just about everybody does. So stay away from oils. The little bit of the little bit of the coconut butter that I put in here is just very minimal. You could leave it out completely. It's and I actually am cooking with no oil. As I started to say earlier, I'm working with the Rochester Lifestyle Medicine Institute. We just actually did a retreat here in town. We have another one coming up in about 3 weeks out at the beach at Oak Island. And it's a plant-based immersion. So it's something that people can come and learn all about how to prepare the foods using no oil and keeping everything really healthy. So, yeah, yes ma'am.
Do you use peanut butter?
I eat peanut butter. It kind of depends on the person. It's pretty saturated fat. So if you have an issue that you want to release some weight, probably stay away from it. And any nut butter actually, because all of the nuts there's like a seed. They've got all that power and energy in them to make that new plant. So it's really, you can do it occasionally maybe, but that's a personal thing that you have to kind of look at for your own personal health. Yes, ma'am.
Going back to the canola oil a little bit, how do you know how much quantity to substitute? Like if it says 2 tablespoons of canola oil and you're going to use applesauce instead, how do you convert it?
Oh yeah, I do. So applesauce actually can pretty much do 1-to-1. So if it says a tablespoon of oil, a tablespoon of applesauce, a tablespoon of mashed banana if you want something that's sweeter. You could use mashed sweet potato. You can use a lot of things that are good substitutes. But I'd be happy to look into that for you if you wanted to, know a little bit more about it and give you some specific recommendations. Because I do that a lot. I substitute. That little nephew of mine that can't eat the nuts also can't eat eggs. So that's why we use applesauce. Pumpkin, mashed pumpkin is really great. Mashed sweet potato. Those are all things you can use in place of oil. His new favorite is a black bean brownie that has chocolate chips in it. But it has no oil and no eggs, so he can eat them. All right, next. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Are you just against oil completely, or an avocado oil be okay? I mean, they're saying now that fat is good for you, actually.
Well,
I know that's trendy.
yeah, there's some disagreement about that.
Right.
Here's the thing about oil. Any kind of processed oil, olive, avocado, canola, walnut, doesn't matter. It's very concentrated and it doesn't have any fiber. And so it gives you fat without any of the things that would come with it naturally. So if you eat a piece of avocado, it comes with fiber, it comes with the nutrients that are in the plant itself. So it takes more time for your body to break it down. So it's really healthier that way. That's why when we say whole food. So, like I said, most of the plant-based doctors that I work with are recommending little to none. So, especially if you have any kind of issue, if you have any high blood pressure issues, you have any diabetes or anything like that, they're recommending just avoid it. And there are options to like I said, we can do lots of other things. But if you eat the whole food, if you eat a handful of walnuts, you've got some great, oil that's going to give you your omega-3s that, are going to help your brain. But it's also got all the nutrients in there, the vitamins and the minerals that are already naturally there. Yeah. All right. Anybody else? All right. So I'm not a doctor, but I have friends that are doctors, and so I'm relaying to you the things that they've said to me. And yes, ma'am.
I just wanted you to go into some of the reasons that plant-based is better for the earth.
Oh, okay, sure. That's a very legitimate question. And it's actually one of the reasons I got to it in the first place. The question was, why did I get into plant-based and how is it better for the earth? The way that we have evolved in our, particularly in this country, but actually it's all around the world now, the way that we farm and the way that we raise animals, it has created a lot of problems for the earth. And there's a lot of pollution, there's a lot of pollution of the waterways, there's stripping of the land, of all the natural nutrients that we used to always have, because we would rotate the crops and we would keep things more balanced. These days, we have gotten to the place where, and it's been happening over probably 50 years or so. It's not like a new problem. It's just gotten progressively worse. And so the there's a number of people who are working on this issue of how to make it easier for people to understand that everything that you put in your mouth, every time you take a bite of something, you have a choice of having health and wellness or not. So it's really important to look at what is the way that I can do it personally to make a difference. So that was my impetus of getting into whole food plant-based in the first place. I could see, after having been a wildlife artist for all those years and trying to help people understand that we need to protect the environment, that I was ignoring the fact of the way we farm animals and the way that affects everything, including our health. So, yeah.
Water use?
Water, yeah, especially. Yeah, the water is another issue because now we're having really problems with it. You know, we're using the water for things that don't really help sustain us. And because of some of the ways that we farm and use pesticides, for instance, and the water that runs off into the waterways and into the ocean ultimately is part of the reasons why we have all these dead zones around the world. So there's a lot to get into with that. If you're really interested, there's a great website called climatehealers.org, and it's hosted by Dr. Sailesh Rao. His name is SAILESHRAW, and he's actually a systems engineer who helped us get the internet up. He was one of the original engineers that created the internet as we know it now. So he has this little granddaughter, and you can read the story on his website, but he said one day he was reading a story to his little granddaughter about monkeys, and she said, Grandpa, tell me about monkeys, you know, where do they come from, and you know, they kind of look like us, are we related? And he said, well, yeah, we are, you know. And he said, if you just go back and back and back and back, you're going to see that, you know, we kind of have some common ancestors. And she was about 4 or 5, and all of a sudden she said, what? You mean the monkeys are my family? And he said, yes, they are. Are all animals part of my family? Well, yes, they are. She got so upset that she didn't know what, she was just crying. It's like, Grandpa, you gotta get people to stop killing my family. And he said, okay. She said, you have to promise. You have to pinky promise. Well, you don't break a pinky promise, especially to a 5-year-old. And so he said, okay, I pinky promise. I'll make sure that we get this job done, that people stop killing and eating animals by the 2024. Well, that's his goal, and he's working at it. And she is also helping him now. She's about 7 now. So if you're interested in learning more about how you can help and what we eat and how we live can make a difference for the earth, you can go to climatehealers.org. Yes, ma'am.
How does this affect hormones,
How does what affect hormones?
the plant-based eating diet?
Makes it better.
I mean, how better?
Well,
What type of hormones?
it helps to balance your whole body. So if you have a specific issue, there are certain plants that can be more beneficial. Are you thinking of something specific or?
Hot flashes.
Hot flashes, yeah. Well, the studies have shown that most people who switch to a plant-based diet get away from particularly meat and dairy, especially dairy, that their hot flashes basically go away. Maybe not immediately, or they certainly get greatly diminished. And the problem of that is, of course, that dairy has hormones. A cow has to be pregnant before she can give milk. So as women, we know that we have hormones that, if we're pregnant, we have hormones that are going into our milk for our babies. And that's exactly what happens with cows and dairy. So that's what I know about that. And there's a lot more that we can do in terms of specific recommendations. Dr. Neil Barnard has a new book on balancing our hormones, I believe is the name of it. Or it might be Hormones in Balance, something like that. Neil Barnard's name is Neal Barnard. So he's a great resource.
Because our bodies change
Yes,
as we age
yes, yes,
drastically.
yes.
So how do you begin and how do you maintain and get better? Heal.
How to begin and how to maintain. I would say begin making these changes to what you're eating, and try to as much as possible or as often as possible just eliminate meat and dairy, because what happens with those is they also start to stimulate other things in our body. They create an acidity in our whole body that creates issues all the way around. So the less of that, the better. Yeah. So just start, and if you need some more help, I'd be glad to help you. I do coaching, and so if there's some specific things you want to address, I'd be glad to refer you to the right people.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. All right. Well, I think we're about at the end of our time here, and I want to make sure that everybody has a chance to taste these things before you go. Is there anybody else who has a pressing question? I'll be around if you want to come and ask me something personal. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. It was absolutely amazing. Really appreciate your attention. And I want to wish you all the most healthy rest of your life.